Okay, well, we have a lot of ground to cover today, so what do you say we jump in? I think it'll be fun. You guys feel free to ask a question as you go, but we will have questions at the end when you wanna ask those. So feel free to also participate in the chat if you've got something you want to say or just emphasize or thumbs up or whatever. So I'm going to start with an Alex. Actually, let me introduce us first. I'm Amy Collette. I think I've met everybody, but if I haven't talked to you one-on-one before, I'm Amy Collette. I'm the author of The Gratitude Connection, and I love to hold up pretty books and show them, so I'll do that. And I'm the founder of the Unleash Your Inner Author program for book coaching. I help leaders like you write your world-changing books. And our co-host today is Alex Agresta. It's
Yes.
Alexandria, but she often goes by Alex.
Yes.
And she is my speaker coach, and a speaker coach who works with many of the authors that I work with too. So Alex, pop on there and introduce yourself.
Yes, I see some familiar faces. I see some new faces. As Amy said, my name is Alexandria Agresta. I'm the co-founder at Purpose Pioneers, where we believe in a world where people fully align what they do to make money with what they do to experience meaning and fulfillment. And we call that the sweet spot between purpose and profit. And how I bring that to life is really empowering entrepreneurs, thought leaders to unite their speaking gift and their brilliance and their message and their wisdom with how they run their business. So I am all things using the stage to really make that transition into being seen as that thought leader. And most importantly, how to use the stage to turn your business, your book, your message into a movement.
Yes. Thanks, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so you'll hear a little bit more about Alex and why we are working so closely together. We found out that we were so well aligned and our messages are so clear and just almost the same, but we bring different gifts to the conversation. So Alex is wonderful about getting you on stage, helping you craft the talk that actually gets across your message in 20 to 60 minutes, whatever it is you have on stage. And my gift is helping you bring that story out fully in your book. So where we can really dive deep. And once people see you on stage, they always want that book. And so your book is where you can tell the rest of the story. You can go deeper into all those pains and promised lands that we are going to talk about in a little bit. So, and every author, the authors I've found that are most successful are the ones who get on stage. So Alex helps authors with that. And then I help her speakers write their books. So that's what we're here to share with you today about how you can actually do that. So what I've found in talking to people who have this life-changing story that they want to share, that they need to get out there to the world, that they're just burning on fire to get it out there, is they're overwhelmed. They've never done this before. You've never gone through this journey before, so you don't know what it looks like. And that's my goal today, is to show you what that path might look like. Giving you a tool, and actually I'm going to post that tool in the chat. So we're going to use this really cool thing called the Craft a Book That Sells outline. And I'm going to add that right now. Bear with me just a second. And you can, it's in the chat. You can actually download it right from there. Very cool. Does everybody see that? Okay. It is in the chat. If you're watching this later, it will be given to you in a different way. So let's see. So this map, I found that when we're trying to tell a story, you're trying to tell your big story about and thinking about writing a book, there's a lot of stuff there. So you need a way to tell it. And this structure that I just gave you, this roadmap, is what helps get you there. And so I'm going to share my screen, and we're just going to dive right in. Okay. Does everybody see that? Transformation is the destination. You are the guide. So the same way that when you are speaking, you're laying out a path. You're laying out some kind of story of transformation, and the same in your book. So you as an author or a speaker need to have a map for yourself too. So it helps you as an author create a path for yourself and for your reader. So that's why we use that map metaphor, and I just love it. It works for everything. So the way Alex and I work this is we decided that we are so well aligned that we can use the same kind of format. And I wanted to use in this example an actual book that might be written. So if Alex and my work had a baby, as she puts it, we would create a book called Craft a Story That Sells. And so that's the example that I'm going to use in a lot of these examples to explain how this works.
Really quick, Amy, can I jump in here?
Please do. Yeah, jump in.
So for everyone here, we know we have two types of people. We have people who are already authors and want to speak on stage. And we have people who are maybe not authors yet and they're wanting to write the book. And we might have people that are speaking on stage and don't have the book yet. So we know we have a variety of people here. So this is really a holistic and all-encompassing structure that we have for you. So wherever you're at in the journey, I just want to give you the lens of how to look at this through. If you already have a book, I want you to look at this from the lens of, okay, I'm going to create the talk version of my book and go speak on stage. If you don't have the book yet, like me, I'm writing the book right now, and you're speaking on stage, I want you to look at this lens of, okay, how can I turn my message of what I speak about on stage into the book? So that's the beauty of Page and the Stage. And that's like our little partnership tagline, is they work so beautifully together wherever you're at on the journey, whether you have the talk first or you have the stage first, a notebook, or book first and you're looking to get on stage. So again, I just want to give you that lens of how you can absorb this today and really put it into motion wherever you're at in the thought leadership journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Yeah, from the page to the stage and vice versa, it works both ways. And that's what's so beautiful about this system and what's so fun about the way it works. Because as I mentioned, if you're writing a book, there are a few more elements that we're going to go through today than you would have in your talk. But the basic structure and the basic idea of how you're connecting deeply with your audience, whether they're reading the book or you're talking to them online or on a live stage, it's that connection. And that's where we start with the introduction, is you're building a relationship. And when they first crack that book open, they're not sure what they're getting into. So it's your job to be that guide, to lead them through this thought leadership concept to the field of possibility, to see how they can bring this stuff into their own lives. And that's the real power of it. So just a little background on anything you see here in green. This means this is where you find it in the Unleash Your Inner Author system. So we work through in the program, we work through really defining your mission. And if you work with Alex, we're going to work with you to talk to you about what is your mission. She calls it the power statement. So through a series of exercises and discussion and really digging deep into what is the impact that you want to make, you come out with this really powerful statement. And Alex, you just saw it, that Alex did it when she introduced herself. She started with this kind of statement. So in our book, if we wrote this book together, it would say, we believe in a world where thought leaders leave behind their fears and their false beliefs and instead choose to openly share their gifts of transformation, whether it's in your talk or your book. So if you've done this work with me, this is exactly where you find it. So when you do the program, then this structure is plug and play. Like you can use this today to start creating your outline. And if you've gone through the program, you just plug in all these things that you've done the deep dives and figured these things out, and you just plug them in your outline. It's really cool. So the rest of the outline, the goal of using this particular document is to help you create a flow, help you create an outline. You're not writing the book here. You can see I leave myself bullet points and little reminders. Like in this, after I tell you what my mission is, then we're going to dive deep into the feeling. What's that feel like? And so for me in this place, I would tell this beautiful story about this guy who shared with me how my book changed his life. And that just made a believer forever for me about why we need to tell our stories, because it makes a difference. It actually does make the impact that you want to make. And you don't know that. You know, when you're starting out, you haven't got that feedback yet. And it's just so amazing. I mean, I know, I see Rick, you're shaking your head. You know this as a speaker. You know, that aha moment that happens, the light bulbs that go on. And when people come up and tell you later how you change your lives, there's nothing like it. So Alex, do you have something you want to share here?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, my eureka moment, I realized that the stage is literally the greatest place for thought leaders to be. It's the greatest place for authors to be. And I had that eureka moment after I experienced a lot of pain and struggle in my business. I'm sure for all of you other business owners, we've been there in some way, shape, or form. I was throwing so much money and attention and focus into all of these strategies that just were not aligned with me. And I kept getting pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled back to the stage. And I had this moment. It was just the light bulb went off and I decided to stop everything, which was scary to do. I stopped everything and just went to the stage, and I just let everything unfold from there. And that was my moment that changed everything for me, and why I'm so inspired and motivated to invite other people to grace the stage with their brilliance and their wisdom.
Yeah. So when you do this in your book, that's grounding that relationship of like heart to heart. You're connecting right here from what it means and what it feels like to have this happen. So then you can share your values. There's a whole questionnaire about your values in the Author Know Yourself module of the Unleash Your Inner Author program. These are easy for Alex and I to connect on, and I think you guys can all relate to those. Again, that's just building that connection with your reader, with your audience, of that you stand for the same things that they do. And then you dive into your reader's pains. So these are the things that you are helping people with. This is where everybody starts. For when you're writing your book or becoming a speaker, these things, these bullet items here are really common. Almost everyone that we talk to deals with some version of these pains, right? So this is, again, where your reader or your listener says, oh yeah, she gets me, he gets me. They know the pain that I'm dealing with, that I'm trying to overcome. So when you just clearly state them, and in this introduction, you're not diving deep into these. It's more of like a list. You're saying, I see you, I feel you, I understand you. And then to wrap this chapter up, this initial introductory chapter, you talk about the other side of that pain. And Alex calls them the promised lands. It's like you can see the promised land out before you, and you can help your reader or your listener say what that looks like. Alex, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, the promised lands, it's so important in both your book and your on-stage talk to really hold that space of possibility, because it is important to talk about the pains, right? We're pain and pleasure creatures. We want to end pain and experience pleasure, especially in business. So we do want to be diving into those pains, because that's where the audience, whether it's your soulmate reader or your soulmate audience, when we speak into the pains, that's where they feel really understood by us. And we go, as the audience member or the reader, we're like, wow, they really get us, like Amy was saying. And it's important not to just stay there, right, and drill into the pains, because that can get a little dark and ominous. Then we want to say, hey, no, I've been here, you've been here, but I've also been to the mountaintop. I love a good old MLK reference. I've been to the mountaintop. I've experienced this promised land. I'm in the field of possibility, right? The only difference between you and I is I figured out a really easy way to get there. And that's that beauty. And this is actually something I haven't quite articulated in this way, but it's this sweet spot of being relatable with the audience and also being the expert at the same time. Because we don't want to fall into either or. If we're only the expert, that's when you can get like that celeb status and people don't really feel like they can relate or connect to you. And if we're exactly like them, our soulmate reader audience, they might not see us as an expert enough to hire us or buy our book or whatever it is. So we want to say, hey, I've been where you've been, and I've been where you haven't been, and really paint that picture in detail. What does it feel like? What does it taste like? And so you get them feeling like, I want to go to that mountaintop with them, right? Like, walk with me, come with me, and we'll go there together.
Yeah, they're on board with you now. And exactly. So that's where you grab them, is now they're not going to stop turning the page. They're not going to get up and leave the audience. You've got them, You're holding that space for them.
Yeah.
So then I call this the initial chapter. And this is after that kind of introduction. They trust you now. They have a connection with you. They're like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. I want to know more. So this is a very, very important part where you tell what I call your origin story, or the legend behind the leader. This is kind of how you got to where you are now. Not just why you're passionate, but you want to go into some explanation about your path. How'd you get here? I do that in the gratitude connection and talk about the pains that I was going through and how I came upon this aha moment of a gratitude practice. So then, so in this book, this theoretical book that Alex and I are writing, which may actually happen. We'll see.
It probably will.
Now that we've got an outline, we might as well start, right?
Right.
So we met at, not surprisingly, a speaking gig. We had met at a venue that I had spoken at the month before. I went back to listen to the speakers the next month, and Alex was on a panel. And a little bit of my backstory about why I was so interested in meeting Alex was that since I started my business as a book coach, helping people create their stories and publish their books, I had been looking to partner with a speaking coach. And at that point, it had been 4 or 5 years that I had actively been looking for someone to partner with, because it's such a natural fit, right? From the page to the stage. I didn't have that name yet, but that was the idea. And I never met someone. There are plenty of speaking coaches out there, but I had never met someone who was so aligned with my message, my philosophy, and who was on fire to work with the same kinds of people that I did. So when I saw Alex, soon as that panel was done speaking, I was over at her table with my
you came up to me and you said,
card.
I've been looking for someone like you. I was like, oh. And you're like, here's my card, let's meet. I was like, done. I don't even know what she wants to meet about, but I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah. So take it from there. You can tell a little bit more of the rest of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So from there, we met probably about a week or two later, very quickly.
Mhm.
And she shared that just like she shared, she had been looking for someone like me to come in and add that next layer of value to her authors and really take those books to that next level of possibility. And it was really like, it was like a first date, but for business owners, right? Like it was like a first date for two business owners that were like, I'm infatuated. We're just peeling back the layers and there's more alignment, more alignment. And it's really cool. I always tell Amy, like bringing the origin story all the way to current date, we really let our relationship and our partnership just naturally unfold. And we didn't rush anything. We didn't force anything. We didn't push anything. And we just, not slowly, because it wasn't slow, but we just let it naturally gravitate towards each other. And, when we let, I think, relationship just naturally gravitate towards each other, that's when all the magic and the beauty and the names of things, it just unfolds before us. So it's been a really awesome journey since that speaking engagement, since
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah. So actually we had about a year ago, we had planned we actually had it on the books, had the room reserved and everything, that we were going to start doing from the page to the stage
Yes.
workshops, very much like this, live in Denver. And obviously that didn't happen. But here we are online and going strong. So we actually have, so when you tell your origin story, then you want to give some examples. You want to give an example of your own transformation or someone you've worked with, a client or colleague, somebody that you can show how this transformation works. And so we actually share this wonderful transformation story where we worked with an author and now a speaker named Lauren Danielle, and her book, I get to hold up a book again. Her book is Get Off the Curb. And A Healthy Rebellion from Fight or Flight to Activated Achiever is the subtitle of that book. So when Lauren came to me, she and I met at an event too, one that wasn't really well aligned for us, networking event. But what was so wonderful is that we were both there, and we were both there so that we could meet each other. And I knew right away that I could help Lauren because she had all these, what I call the fears and false beliefs. She had a lot of those going on, but she really didn't care. She knew she was going to work through them. And she was just on fire to tell this story, even though she knew she had to overcome some of these barriers. And, her book is a personal development journey, but actually creating the book was a personal development journey. And I think most authors find that as you go along the way. I think all of us who have written a book can relate to that. See some heads nodding. And so together, Alex and I were able to help Lauren make two dreams come true. So she has this beautiful published book, and she just recently became a TEDx speaker. So I'll let you talk about the taking her to the TEDx stage, Alex.
Yeah, I think Lauren is some of you may already know Lauren. She's a really great testament to the page, to the stage. She started with the page. Yes, she had done speaking gigs and considered herself a speaker, but she chose to dive into the book first and get it all out onto paper, and then naturally felt called to the stage. So it's actually a double whammy with Lauren. Now she has the book. I'm helping her get on all types of stages, conferences, associations, local events. And then that naturally led to, the end all be all stage, which I'm sure majority of everyone here wants to do a TEDx talk. We also landed her the TEDx stage, which was really phenomenal. And one of the biggest, the biggest stages that we want to check off the list as a speaker and thought leader. So it's just been a really great testament to seeing this structure, seeing this philosophy in motion. Again, if you're an author wanting to speak on stages, or you're a speaker wanting to write your book, they just go so beautifully hand in hand. And I've seen that Lauren, now that she has the book, now that she has the TEDx stage, now that she's getting on other stages, just the abundance and the opportunity and the possibility is really just hurling towards her at every moment.
Right. So you can feel the power of that kind of example in your book, in your talk. When you give these examples, you tell these stories, gets people pumped up that maybe they can do it too. Right. So then when you wrap up this initial chapter, you want to finish just like you started strong. You want to finish strongly and transition to that next part, which will be probably your main one of your main, what I call main chapters. It's the meat of the book. And so now's where you ask that question. Why do we do this? Why do we give so much energy over to our fears and our false beliefs? Why do we assume no one's going to like our stuff or be transformed by it like we were? So to ask that question, it just opens up the person to say, okay, why do we do that?
Yeah.
And so then the next part where you wrap up that question or that part of your talk is, how do we take that back? How do we take that energy that we're giving over to false beliefs, to fears, to worry and stress, overwhelm, and how do we take that energy back and transform it into something that's going to change the outcome? And for us, for writing your book, we want to show you how do we do that? That's what the rest of the book is about. That's what the rest of the talk is about.
Yeah. Yeah. And this right here, these two sections of your book outline, they directly correlate to your talk outline. And this is a really great strategy when you're on stage. So for all my peeps that already speak, for all my peeps who are wanting to speak, there is something powerful about being on a stage and rallying the troops to take back their power. Because at the end of the day, all of us, and I don't like to generalize, but I've seen it with a lot of people, we have all given at least a little bit of our power away in some way, shape, or form to our friends, our family, spouses, brothers, sisters, jobs, status quos. So especially right now, it's so relevant that in a room, if you can rally people up and feel like, yes, I want to take back my power, give me the tools, I'm here. You are now speaking a talk on stage that is so captivating. It is so compelling that you create this magnetic field around you, right? And when we have these juicy ingredients in your talk, by the end, you have a line out the door of people wanting to book a call with you, buy your stuff, buy your book. And that's really how we start not only having a book that moves the needle forward, but having a talk version of the book that really moves the needle forward from stage to stage.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What it does is when you're speaking, it makes people lean in.
Yes.
And waiting for what's next. And when you're reading, they're turning the page pretty quick. They want to know what's next.
Right.
So this is an optional thing. I'm going to gloss over this just in interest of time. It's there for you if you want to add some more background. But I'm going to jump ahead to this place. If you're looking at that document, it's in that the first place where it says chapter title, and I left it blank there in your document so you can add your title. And for me, most everybody is worried about where do I even start? So that's where I'm going to start in this. And I think the same as speaking. And I'm going to go through this really quickly just to give you an idea of what this looks like and how you can fill this in for yourself on your own outline. I love to start with a quote or use quotes throughout. I have one author I'm working with. She doesn't use them at the beginning and end. She uses them in the middle to really highlight something that she's talking about. So you can use them in all different kind of ways. There's so many inspirational and wonderful quotes that help you set a tone. You may not do this in your talk just for time's sake, but it's a powerful way to kind of set the stage. Again, to continue, story. I think Alex and I have both, as your coaches, will emphasize this over and over again, the power of story, because story is where we connect. as humans. You know, I'd say it a million times. And usually when somebody asks me what's missing from my book or what do I need to do more of, I say, tell me more stories. That's what people want. That's where they understand someone else, whether it's you or someone else you're talking about. It's like holding up a mirror so they can see themselves. That's really what it's about. So I know sometimes authors get a little shy about sharing too many of their own stories. They're saying, it seems like it's all about me, when your goal really is to help your reader or your listener. But your story is their story in some way too. That's why they're reading your book or listening to you on stage. You're holding up a mirror to say, I see you. I've been where you are. So that's it's super powerful. Do you want to step in about something about story there, Alex?
Yeah. So storytelling is crucial as a thought leader. I think really stories is how we connect to each other. It's how we find meaning in things and find meaning in life. And the key difference here is how I see it. Amy really helps you add a lot of stories and take those stories to a really important depth, give a lot of detail, really paint that picture. And this is where a lot of my authors, they come to me, they're like, Alex, like I have this book and it's 200 and something pages and you're telling me I got to put this down to a 30-minute talk. How do I pick? How do I choose? Like, how do I shorten a story? So for all of my peeps writing a book or have already written a book, in the book, you want to add a lot of detail and add all the things. On stage, we want to give a little Cliff Notes version. So it's so important when you're crafting your talk to pick the most important stories that can portray the message that you're saying, portray the transformation. And I like to teach, especially my authors, how to share stories on stage in that Cliff Note version that get people excited and connected and inspired, but you're not blabbing on stage, right? Has anyone ever felt that? Like, I don't want to blab on stage, or I just said a story for 20 minutes and now I only have 10 minutes left for the rest of my talk. So I think that's the beauty of the book and the talk is really the talk is a 30-minute version of your book. And if people want to know more about that story, they want to hear the other story, they get to then take a piece of you home, as Amy says, and buy your book. So if anyone's been feeling that feeling, if you're an author already and you want to speak on stage, you're like, how the hell do I choose? I don't know what to say. I have so much, but how do I pick? We work together to pick the most potent and powerful things that need to be said in that time constraint of 30 or 60 minutes. And then if you're already a speaker and you don't have a book, you already have a talk of sorts. You now get to dive deeper and not have time constraints. So I think it's another sweet spot. You get to do both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that story leads into the pain. You know, the story may include the pain. And I do that a lot in the gratitude connection. Almost each one of those is a pain point that I'm addressing, and then how to the pain is the issue, the problem, the sticking point, the false belief, the fear that your audience is dealing with. And the promised land is the other side of that. It's the solution. It's the plan. It's the roadmap. It's the clarity, whatever it is that you are teaching, that's the transformation. Here's how to turn it around. It's that answer to how do we take that energy back? How do we take that energy back and transform it? This is the rest of that story for each one of those pains. And your stories are going to be organized consistently, because it helps your reader get into a trust relationship. They know what to expect from you. You see some famous authors like Rachel Hollis. She does this. It is a little bit formulaic, but it's a sense of comfort for readers. They know what to expect. They know what they're going to get. And they know they're going to have some kind of answer to their question at the end of the chapter, by the end of the chapter. So promised lands, that's where people want to go. And then how to get there is the road to transformation. That's, again, the roadmap for them to get there.
I have some nuggets on this.
Okay.
I actually drew out a little visual for everyone. Amy, you already know this since I have walked you through crafting your talk. For all of my speakers who are wanting to speak on stages, I'm gonna blow your mind right now. Pain and Promised Land, I believe, is one of the most important parts in your book and the most important part in your talk. So here it is. I don't know if it's going to be backwards, but here's a little Venn diagram. This is inspiration, inspo, I think it's backwards, and transformation, transfo. And you want to be right in the middle. So this right here of how Amy is teaching it, how I teach it, this is what sets you apart from the inspirational speakers out there. And if you have once identified as an inspirational speaker, that is okay. But after today, we want you to say that you are a transformational speaker. Now, here's the reason why. Inspiration is great. It makes us feel good. Honestly, it's like a big bite of chocolate and we're like, me, and we get a sugar rush and it feels good. But if we don't have a roadmap, if we don't have a direction to direct that inspiration, you know what happens? It fizzles away. It's also called the inspiration arc, right? It just, it's like a rainbow and then it fleets away. So as a speaker, as a thought leader, as an author, you don't just want to make people feel good. We want to make them feel good. And we want to say, hey, I know where you're hurting and I know where you want to go. And here's the roadmap to get there. So this is really big in the events industry right now. Event organizers are looking for thought leaders that don't just make people feel good and all motivational and hurrah, hurrah. They want that and they want transformation. Meaning you have the courage to say, here's where you're hurting. I've been there. You have the courage to say, this is where we want to go. And you have the courage to say, oh, and here's 3 simple steps of how to get there, or however we articulate it. So now you are a speaker that is both holding that space of possibility and you're inviting them into transformation. You're like, hey, we got a movement. We got something to do here. And here's this invitation. And this is how you become an author that is having books fly off the bookshelves, quite literally. And this is how you become a speaker that people are googly-eyed over and they want to pay you and they want to have you speak on your stage. So there's my little chart for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. And Chris, yes. I want to acknowledge that you put up a really good question in the chat and we will get to that in just a few moments. I'm going to wrap this up and then we're going to move on, but so yes, this promised land, the pain promised land road to transformation. This is what makes you a thought leader. This shows you that you're not just inspiring people, like Alex said, from the stage or the page, but you are taking them to that transformation. You're inviting them into doing it for themselves, embodying that transformation in their own lives. So people can do this. You can do this. I love to have these kind of things at the ends of chapters, exercises, quizzes, practices, resources, all these kinds of things that actually where people can say, okay, that's great that Alex or Amy or given your author or speaker of choice has done it. But that's not possible for me. This gives them no excuse. It helps them put it into practice.
Yeah. Make
it real in their own lives. Okay, and then the memorable close. This is especially important in your talk, where you're going to leave people just wanting more. And that's when they're going to run to the back of the room and buy your book and your other programs, right? But it's also important at the end of a chapter. You don't want to let it fizzle out. And so that's why a book that we published recently called Ignite Your Greatness. Every chapter ends with a quote. It's either from the author or from some other inspirational person. All glory comes from daring to begin is one of my favorites. And so let's leave it with that. And now I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. And so the next step in this is even this document that I shared today might feel a bit overwhelming. It might seem a little bit like you don't have all these pieces figured out. And that's why I want to invite you into the Unleash Your Inner Author Mastermind group class. And that starts next month on the 21st. It's every Wednesday. I'll just give you a little bit about it. But what it does is it helps you figure out all these pieces that we've talked about. In some ways, you might need to really dive deep to get to the clarity so that you can plug in all that information in those various places. So that's what it helps you do. And that's just the very beginning. So that getting all that stuff in place is absolutely crucial. Then you have an outline, then you are writing the book. And the goal of the course is to help you at the end of 6 months. It's a 6-month program. At the end of that 6 months, you come out with one of your own books that looks, a beautiful expression of you and the transformation that you're offering. So that's the goal. Is it may not be published by the end of that 6 months, but it's out of your head and onto the page. You may even be speaking about it by then. Once you've got that story dialed in about what you want to offer as the transformation, then you're ready to go. You're ready to speak on stage, and your book will be in process. Anyway, so the Unleash Your Inner Author program, it involves a group that is also there to support you in addition to your book coach. That's me. And you can see all this. We'll be sending out an email after this to all of you with a link to the replay for the video and with all the information for the Unleash Your Inner Author program. And Alex, I'll let her talk about that in just a second. But what's really cool about this program is you go through the whole system. And I'll give you a link so you can look at all the whole curriculum and all the goodies that you get in addition to this very powerful piece, which you got today as a little peek into crafting your book. But you get the support of a group mastermind. So the discussions, we meet for 2 hours every other week during the 6-month program. And so in that time period, we cover some information. So you're always learning something. You're always doing some homework. It's a class, right? You got homework. And figuring out the next step, how you get to be a better writer. You get to tell your story more compellingly. You get to work through all those fears and false beliefs that come up along that journey to becoming an author. So we work through all that in a group where everybody's doing it together. And you find out that you're not the only one with those fears or those false beliefs or the little roadblocks that come up along the way. We work through those together. So on the off weeks, when we're not in class, you're writing, you're creating, you're doing all the stuff that you need to do to create the end product, which is that book. But you're also on the off weeks, on the Wednesdays, I have what I call office hours. So you can come. You don't have to wait till the next class to ask a question, to work through something. You've got those office hours, and you've got our Facebook group, which we can keep up the conversation all the time. And you can always feel like you're part of that community and part of that, part of everybody else's creation too. It's really fun to do this in community as part of a group because, as you know, in groups, just magic happens between people. It's just incredible, the things that happen in the Unleash Your Inner Author group classes, where people will come up with ideas for each other that I would never think of. So you wouldn't get that if you're not in the class. So I'm also going to bundle that with a really cool piece that you'll need after you get the book out of your head, and that is navigating the publishing maze. I know that's always on people's minds when they're creating the book. It's like, okay, great, I'm getting it out of my head, but then what? What do I do? So if you sign up for the class that's starting in April, if you do that by this Sunday, March 28th. You'll also get the bundle of that course, Navigating the Publishing Maze. Well, that will just clarify a lot of the options and my recommendations about how you make decisions on those options to creating your world-class book. So that is what I want to invite you to. When you're ready for that, you will know it. When you are ready to get this book out of your head, it will not stop bothering you. I always say your book is talking to you. It's knocking in your head, ready to come out. And you'll know when it's time. So if this is your time, then the class starts April 21st and goes every Wednesday at noon, so same time as today, until the middle of September. So by that time, you'll have manuscript in hand. So,
beautiful.
Yes. Alex, I'm going to hand it over to you.
As a testament to Amy's work, because she's my coach for life. My book was in my head. Well, it's actually a talk because I'm a speaker first. And I had the talk version and then the rest was in my head. And it came out in this. So now I have a sticky note version of my book, which I'm so grateful for. Like, I want everyone to have this book before they have it looking all pretty, because this is so powerful. I get to keep it forever. I'm always on the author community calls. I know Brooke and Jody have seen my sticky note version of my book. But just to have a roadmap and to have the sticky notes and have it all out of here onto something that I can actually bring to life through someone that's done it, who's been through it, who's helped people like me. It's really, really, really powerful. So I can't speak highly enough of what Amy does. And I know people who have been her clients, they come back time and time again for a reason. It's a testament to her work. So with that, I have some questions. Now that I can see all your faces, who wants to speak on stages? Anyone raise their hand if they want to. Keep the hand raised. Who wants to do a TEDx talk? Yes, perfect. Ooh, Amy, yes, we got to get you on that stage. Who wants to learn how to get paid for their wisdom? Meaning books are flying off the shelves, you're getting paid to be in the room, event organizers are throwing money at you, and you're just like, ah! Yes, okay, beautiful. I think every single, Chris raised his virtual hand, so perfect. So this is why Amy and I are just so excited to be in this partnership, because all you authors usually want to speak on stages and do the TEDx talk, learn how to get paid for your wisdom, learn how to navigate this whole booking stages world. How do I find the stages? This whole world. And I'm telling you right now, peeps, especially for those that are already authors, right now is the greatest time in modern day history to share your brilliance and your wisdom on stage. After 2020, everything we went through, everything we're still going through, I like to always say turbulent times are when movements are birthed. It is during turbulence and chaos that people are looking for new perspectives. They are looking for new leadership. They are looking for you to show up and be the thought leader. And you know what a thought leader is? They courageously say the thing people are thinking, and then they boldly go out and do the thing people are wanting. You reawaken something inside of someone that's been dormant for a very long time. So with that, I believe it is my job, it is my duty to extend this invitation to you. So again, as Amy said, if you know when you're ready, you'll know that you're ready. If you're feeling that pull, don't wait. I am here for you. I am in your corner. So I have put together the dopest of bundles, because I know everyone wants to speak on all the stages, and then you also want to speak on the TEDx stage. So I have my live event coming up May 5th, 6th, and 7th here in Denver, Colorado. It actually is a hybrid event. So Jody's actually going to be there as a virtual attendee. She came last year. She was the first person to get her ticket for the May event. She's like, I'm coming again. She calls it her dose of espresso. So at this 3-day experience, whether you would like to come in person or virtually, I call this the 3-day immersion, where I am immersing you in my proven method called the movement method, which gets you on the right stages with the right people in the room, saying the right things. This way you can turn all that magic you create on stage into a movement off the stage. So you're clearing your calendar and you are immersing yourself, because whether you want to move fast or not, once you say you want to speak on stage, we move fast. Abundance follows thought leaders. Things happen quickly quicker than you could ever imagine. So I immerse you in the method, and we're workshopping all 3 days. We're finding you the stages. I'm taking you through the booking stages process, how to negotiate speaker fees so you can get paid to be in the room. Yes, that is a thing. How to craft your talk. So for all my authors, you're going to actually see that integration point between Amy and I. You're going to see your book come to life through your onstage talk. We're going to name your movement. And most importantly, we're going to create that bridge between your business and your book and your message and the stage. So now you have a strategy that is intentional, it feels aligned, and it allows you to do this consistently in a way that's fun and extremely profitable. So I'm going to post that link in the comments below. You go and check that out. This page is very comprehensive, so make sure to just comb through all of it. You can see the video from last year, so you can feel the energy. I split it up by day, so you're actually going to learn, you're going to know what you take away each day of the event. And then from there, I'm going to supercharge this, and I have a really awesome bundle just for my positively powered authors and this group. I'm going to include, if you do the virtual ticket, I'm going to include my Land Your Dream TEDx stage workshop. So myself, I'm a TEDx speaking coach. I'm also a TEDx speaker myself. And I've really gotten this strategy boiled down to a very simple science that we get those TEDx results really quickly, just like Lauren. So I'm going to include that workshop in the virtual package. If you are able to come live and be in that incredible room with us, I'm going to supercharge in 2 ways. You're going to get my 30-day TEDx accelerator. So the workshop and the accelerator is the same material, but the 30 days you get guidance and support from me. We meet 4 times, and I'm taking you through the strategy in a beautiful group setting, and we're submitting an application. We're finding the stage, submitting the application, submitting the audition video, and crafting the TED Talk. And then I'm also going to upgrade your ticket to VIP. And why this is amazing is as a VIP at our live event, you get to mastermind with me, the Craft a Talk That Sells Mastermind. So we craft your talk. For the first 2 days, you're learning the thing. And then on day 3, we throw you into the deep end and you do the thing. You get to speak on our stage. You get the professional recording of your talk. And why this is incredible is if you want to book big stages, you want to get paid to be in the room, you need beautiful footage of you speaking on stage. So you get to walk away with that powerful asset. You also get to walk away with the professional photos of you speaking on stage. So that's going to be included. That's usually an additional charge, but that's going to be included in the bundle. Not only do we like to immerse you in this method at the event, but we want you walking away with assets that you can start putting to work so you can get those dream stages. So go ahead and check that out at the thoughtleadershipsummit.com or thethoughtleadershipsummit.com. I'm also going to put my booking link in the chat below. If you're serious about this, you're ready to go, you're feeling like it's time for you to speak on stage, just grab a slot in my calendar over the next couple of days. This way I can learn about you. I want to know all about you, where you're at on the journey, and we can explore if the event is the perfect fit for you, and we'll get you rocking and rolling. So both links are there in the chat for you. Amy, thank you for allowing me to extend the invitation. I'm excited to see what more authors are ready to speak on stage.
I am going to be at the event, the Thought Leadership Summit. I'm happy to be a sponsor of that event. So I get to be in there and soak up all the goodness for 3 days and talk to everybody about what's going on. There's just a lot happening, and you'll be processing a lot of stuff that's going on during those 3 days. So we will be sending out a little follow-up a little bit later. But I did want to get to some questions, and Alex and I will be able to stay on the call if you have other questions, just want to talk or brainstorm or any of that stuff. We will be on after the top of the hour. But Chris left a great question earlier. Chris, do you want to pop in and ask your question, or do you want me to read it for you?
No, I can pop in.
Great, thanks.
So yeah, basically the question was, I've noticed that in some of the books that I've been reading, that the author will tell a story, but it's not their story. It's somebody or about somebody, and it just helps emphasize that point. And so I assume that they found the story from research that they were doing for supporting their book and all that. and just was curious if that is acceptable or a good practice or what.
Yeah, well, let me ask a question back to you, Chris. So when you're reading a book that has this kind of story, do you feel like it's credible, or how do you relate to it?
Well, I think it is very credible, I believe. It validates the point that they're making or trying to make.
Right. Right.
And it actually broadens it out because it's not their story, right? It didn't happen to them specifically, and it just makes it more inclusive.
Right. And I think that's a really good point. And I think what I've seen in a lot of cases is it depends on the example that you use. It depends on the story that you tell. I think it has to be something very relatable, maybe helpful to have somebody that's well known, like in Ignite Your Greatness, this book that just came out recently. The author gives examples of Muhammad Ali, of Martin Luther King, of different leaders that we can relate to and we know that we think are credible and maybe inspirational. So I think that can be a very good way to illustrate your point, and make your message clearer and lead to that transformation. I think that, there's always something that has to do with too much research. That's something we can talk about offline, where you don't want to get bogged down in research, but be able to have that flow really easily for you as an author as well as for your reader, where it's actually an inspirational or motivational story that you're telling, so that they can get to that transformation that they're seeking.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. What other questions? You can raise your hand or unmute yourself, pop in there. Carol, go ahead.
Hi, Amy. What are people buying as far as topics for speaking gigs or books? What is the research showing? What do people want? And what are they actually buying?
Well, something that comes right off the top of my head, Carol, is sometimes authors ask me, does the market really need another professional or personal development book? And my answer is, look at how many are on the shelves. Look at how, there are so many. That's what people are seeking. They're seeking transformation. So those personal and professional development books are always going to be popular. I mean, so that's what I see a lot of, and probably right now relevant to what you do, Carol, is I think because of the economic upheaval that we're going through right now, people are looking for career transformation books.
Yeah.
They're looking for a lot of those things. It depends on the time. Right now there's a ton of social justice books out also, which are very timely and very needed right now. So I think some of it has to do with our time, but over time, I mean, since it got on my awareness, back when Wayne Dyer was young, he was writing books about personal development that were completely popular and continued to be all through his life, up until just a few years ago. So I think those books will always be popular.
Thank you.
That's your question. And Alex, jump in there.
Oh, I got some golden nuggets for you, Carol, also for everyone else. So a big part of my method and how I teach speakers to craft their message, get on stages, is empathy. The more that you can lean into your current network, your existing audience, past clients, current clients, and get curious, right? So Carol, I love that you're asking that question here. Now I want you to go ask that question to people that you might potentially want to serve and speak in front of, and get curious and say, hey, where are you hurting right now? What perspectives do you want? Like what type of things do you want to listen to, right? Start getting curious to find out that information from people that you want to speak in front of and that you want to write a book for, and so on and so forth. So number one, always be curious as a thought leader and directly ask those questions to your people. And then the second thing, your thought, Carol, just sparked a thought that I think is relevant here, that a lot of aspiring TEDx speakers have said to me, they're like, Alex, there's already a TED Talk on everything. Why would my message matter? There's already a TED Talk, 8 million TED Talks on X, Y, and Z. And this is what I have to say to that. And I think this could be useful for all of you, since I'm fairly certain everyone raised their hand for a TED Talk. I'm going to have some breaking news for you. Everything you're writing about, everything you're saying isn't new. Sorry, it's not new, right? And I feel like I just got a, elephant in the room. It's not new, but here's where it gets fun. So yes, you're not saying a new topic, but you're saying that topic in a new way. That is what people want. Actually, you don't really want completely brand new, groundbreaking topics. A lot of resistance comes with that. Look at Elon Musk. He's like, we're going to the freaking Mars. And people are like, what? Now he's made it mainstream. But before, you know how much resistance he had because it was so new? So you're not saying a new topic, but you're saying it in a new way where people go, Alex said things differently. I've heard that before, but she said it in a new way. Carol, I've heard that topic before, but she said it in a way that's getting me excited, that no one else has said it in that way before. So another perspective for you to think when you're out there doing your empathy work, don't feel like it has to be something new and groundbreaking. Just know that no one has experienced this topic in the way that you've experienced it. No one can say this message the way that Carol can. No one can say it the way that Amy can, right? Our eyeballs are what is our differentiating factor as a thought leader. We see life and we see topics and all these things through our unique lens. So I hope that was
perfect.
The TEDx, aspiring TEDx speakers out there, also just speaking in general.
Helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that question, Carol. I think that's something that really is another intersection of where Alex and I meet, is that perspective. You guys that have worked with me all know this. I'm always talking about perspective, your unique perspective. Let's bring that out. You may have experienced the same thing other people did, but what you took away from it was different because of your unique perspective and your unique author voice, speaker voice. So questions, other questions, comments? Anybody want to dive in? Let me see, make sure I just check the chat, see if there's anything else in there.
Any questions about speaking? I'm here, pick my brain.
Pat had to leave earlier, but he said, this is awesome. Why do I feel a fire being lit?
That's what we do. That's our specialty. We light the
Anybody
fire.
else feeling their fire being lit?
Yeah, me. I love that.
Awesome. All right. Oh, Carol, unmute yourself. I see you gesticulating.
Carol's like, if no one else is going to ask questions, I'll ask some more questions.
Well, that's right. Now, from a perspective, and Amy, you know our circumstances. If you write someone else's material, what is that? A biography? Or if you speak on behalf of someone else is really the author. You're just telling their story.
Oh, I can't imagine what you might be talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're speaking on or representing them. What's the twist, or how do you handle that one? Yeah.
Well, I don't have a lot of experience with that. I think, but it goes to kind of what Chris was talking about. If you're talking about transformation, but you're talking about actually writing a biography of someone from their standpoint.
Right.
I think all the relevant things are the same, where you want to get across that transformation, whether it's a biography of Abraham Lincoln or Barack Obama or whatever it is. That story needs to come across and do the same things. It needs to connect with the reader. It needs to understand their pains and what they're seeking and that transformation that they want to come across. So I think the basic elements are really the same. It's the point of view. It's literally the perspective, you know, the point of view that you're writing from. So we can talk more about that. I'd love to talk
Great.
about that with you offline, but the basics I think are the same.
Great. Thank
Also,
you.
Yeah.
to piggyback off that, if anyone is curious about their talk, you know, quoting other people, sharing other people's story, it's just like Amy, I don't have too much experience of like a speaker getting on stage and sharing someone else's story beyond their own.
Yeah.
But I do have experience of speakers wanting to quote other people, wanting to share other people's stories that they heard or experienced themselves. So I would just say general rule of thumb, and I'm sure all of you are cognizant of this already, but just to reflect this back, just make sure you're properly citing, you're properly giving credit, you're properly quoting. So for me, you know, when I'm quoting someone else that isn't necessarily famous, but, you know, maybe my business partner, I quote him a lot. You know, although we're like half of the same brain, I still like to give him credit. So I'll say, you know, this incredible quote came from my genius business partner, and it goes like this. So just being honest and being integral with where this stuff comes from. I know from the receiving end, you know, people are starting to quote me now that I have the TED Talk, which by the way is really freaking cool. Like, what the heck? It feels really good when they're, you know, when it has my name on there, or they credit it to me, or some people have reached out to me and asked permission, like, hey, can I quote you in this? And it just feels really good to know that we can stand on each other's shoulders of wisdom and keep sharing the wisdom in a way that honors the person that first came up with the wisdom. Yeah. So just some little nuggets there for your talk.
Yeah. Other questions, comments? All right. Well, I want to wrap it up and just thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to tag off something that Alex does, and give me in the chat, give me a feeling word. How are you feeling right now? You feeling, after hearing all this information and transformation? Fire. Wow. Energized and on fire. Thank you for sharing your brilliance. Inspired, re-energized. Awesome. Ah, that feels good. I know I'm filled up and excited to, you know, I'm always curious and excited to see what new story is going to be birthed in the world next, on the stage or the page. So with that, we will be in touch with you. Thank you. We love you. I'm so grateful that you're here, and thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
We'll see you on the page and the stage.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. This was wonderful, and I hope to connect with you soon.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Brooke. Thanks for being here.